So Ron, you're calling the defense this year, but Coach Braum says schematically things aren't going to change much. Do you envision installing any new wrinkles? Is there anything you can talk about at all, or how do you see the defense unfolding with you pushing the buttons?
Well, I think you always, even from year to year, you're looking to see if there's some stuff you want to add. You're studying yourself. You're studying your opponents. You're studying, the best people across the country. So I think the teams always add wrinkles here and there. But really, to be honest, in my experience, everybody runs the same defenses. It's all about application, to be honest. It's all about how you do it and how well you do it and how you do it technically. So that's my spiel on that.
How do you feel like this group, based on the guys that are out there right now, are at from a technical standpoint?
Well, we got a boatload of guys missing, but the guys are working. They're into it. Since I've been here, these guys have been awesome to work with. I mean, they've just been awesome to work with. They want to get better. They don't mind working. Coach Braum does a great job in the way that he builds a team and the way that he works them into condition and keeps them healthy. So I feel like the guys are doing a good job. They're into it.
Where are you going to work on game days? Sideline or press box?
I don't know yet. We haven't talked about that yet.
Where do you prefer to work?
I prefer to work the field because I can look in their eyes and I can see, and I have a good feel for it. I can kind of see what's going on from the field. I've always kind of been able to do that. But also I can see what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, what they like, what they don't like. And sometimes I kind of stay away from calls that they are not executing.
Tell us a little bit about the newcomers, Ron. I know T. Denson's hurt.
Yep.
Tell us about Bryce Hampton and Reese Taylor in particular.
Well, they're both, it's fun because they play a lot of football. So you're not talking to some 18-year-old guy who just came out of high school. You're talking to some guys who had some reps now. So they're even-keeled, they're into it, they fit in. I mean, we chose the right guys because they fit in really well with our team. Hard workers, lack ego. Reese is talented, and he might be a little more talented than I thought he was, to be honest with you, looking at last year's tape. And then Bryce is just a tough guy. I didn't know his grandfather was Joe Ortiz. So Joe Ortiz officiated something like 175 championship fights. Right, that's Joe Ortiz. Golden Gloves champion, that's Joe Ortiz. So this guy's got some toughness to him. He's still got to get acclimated, got to learn how to practice, but he'll help our team. So those two guys are doing good in terms of transfers.
Right. With Cam Allen, and just how much does he maybe need to up the leadership part?
Well, he's got
really take over that back half.
Well, the deal with Cam is he's done some nice things. So now people are going to listen, but it's now off the field. Like, okay, what's your habits? Like, what's your habits every day? Because you know how that is. Yeah, you can come out here and talk all you want, but if you're, and I'm not saying he is, but I'm saying if you're missing class, or let's say you miss a study table, or you're not eating meals when you're supposed to eat meals, or all that stuff, then people don't listen as intently. So I think for Cam, the fact of the matter is, if as he gets his whole life tightened up, then he'll be even more effective. But right now, he really loves what he's doing. He's a smart player. He works really hard, and he really is trying to do what I'm asking him to do. So I just think he's going to have a bright future.
This program's gone through a couple of defensive play callers the last few years, but just how important, I guess, is it to have that continuity in terms of the scheme, the play calling, I guess the attitude of this defense, especially after last season?
Well, I think the attitude is brought by the coaches. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So
right.
The coaches that are here at the time bring the attitude. And I think last year we were very, very effective at staying even-keeled and making corrections and coaching throughout a game and not getting too high or too low. And then the players kind of followed our lead, right? So, like I said, the scheme is the scheme. Scheme is scheme. Now, I think the application and when you call things, that's important, right? That's critical. But I think schemes are schemes. But it's really how you build them in terms of, for example, how do they respond to failure? How do they respond to success? How do they respond to all those things? So that's where we come in as a staff. And then they might not act like it, but it's like your own kids. They're listening to you. They might not act like they're listening, but they're hearing what, you know what I'm saying? So whatever you model, whatever behavior if we go crazy every time they give up a play, then they're going to start going crazy. But if we're just make the corrections, encourage them, right? Maybe get on them a little bit if we need to. Then they kind of follow that model.
Who've been your biggest influences as a defensive coordinator and coach?
Ooh, that's a great question. You know, I always say this, especially the older I get, one of my biggest influences in life was a guy named Bruce Snyder. Bruce Snyder almost won the national championship with Arizona State, but he was a turnaround guy. So he went to first New Mexico State, turned it around. Then he goes to Utah State, wins the championship. Then he goes to Cal. 5 years later, they were number 8 in the country. Then he goes to Arizona State, they end up number 2 in the country. So he was the greatest teacher I've ever been around. He was the greatest teacher. And he was a run game guy. So he coached Charles White, Ricky Bell, all those guys at SC, coached Eric Dickerson at the Rams. So he was a guy who could teach toughness, and he didn't need to yell and scream to teach toughness. He was that kind of a guy. So Bruce to this, I love him, God bless his soul, he passed, but he won the Bear Bryant and all that. He was a big time guy. But he was a program builder, and that to me is what's always stuck with me, the patience to do that, the toughness to do that, the skill to do that. And then, my coach in college was Phil Snow, who's now the defensive coordinator at Carolina. And just the way his style of building defenses is he doesn't get frustrated. It takes time. They might not be very good the first year, but then the second year, kind of like Temple. You guys saw Temple when they were at Temple, not very good. Then all of a sudden they're in the top whatever in the country in defense. That's Phil Snow. So he, influenced me. And then, Lloyd Carr was a big influence just because of the way he handled people and the players and perceived pressure. He was good about pressure, and he was good about the perception of it, because it is just perception, So anyway, those were some guys who really influenced me, and to this day, influenced me.
How do you take from how they influenced you, and what have you kind of stolen from that? Like, what do you do that they do?
Well, I would hope I teach like Snyder, and I would hope I had the patience of Snow, right? Those kind of, so yeah. I try to take whatever their best quality is and just try to get into that, and then hopefully be like Lloyd in the sense that, be able to stay focused when things start going haywire, just being able to stay focused.
So how do you, for example, like coach like him?
Like which guy? Like all of them or any of them?
Oh, like Schneider.
I don't. I coach in my own style, and
Okay.
I'm loud, and I'm aggressive, and I'm excited, and I love the players, and so I have to coach in my own style. Mm-hmm. But I do try to teach at all times. I really don't like to just be yelling to be yelling kind of a deal, so I do try to teach. Mm-hmm. And then just when I'm out there, just try to, do those other things, be patient and exhibit a sense of calmness when I need to, that type of thing.
Hey, building up to Saturdays, Ron.
Yep.
Talk about the process of building a game plan. Who's going to be involved with that? Is that going to be Mark going to have a big role in that too? Is Dave Ellison?
Well, we all did. Last year, that was the cool thing. I think I said this to you guys. The best thing was no egos. So we were all, equally involved in game planning. And we all said, okay, this is what we like, this is what we don't like. And Brad was great. But it was how it's going to be. It was a real collaborative effort, and there was no type of a deal. It was just like everybody's contributing, and it was one of the. I can't think of another staff with less egos than last year's staff that I've been on in 30 years. It was like that. So.
Chris Jefferson, guy who transferred in last season, had that production on the field in his first season here with the program. Just what's the ceiling like, I guess, for him in terms of his group?
He's all right. Chris Jefferson's the type of guy I don't know about because he's got, some off-the-field issues. I don't want to share those with you right now. But he's got some issues, so we just got to get him reined back in and get him going. I hope he's a good player this year, but who knows? I don't know what he's going to be. Now, last year, he helped us. He made a couple plays every now and then. But this year, we're hoping, Chris is good player. Tough guy, loves ball, good person, does everything right. So, you know, we were blessed to be good evaluators when he came to take him, and then he came on. And I think, you know, if you look at that bowl game, he probably defensive MVP of that bowl game. I mean, he made 2 huge fourth down stops. So, now Chris is a stud. We're looking for a big, I mean, the pressure's on him a little bit, to be honest, because he's a senior. We trust him, we expect him to lead, and we expect him to perform. So he's in that kind of a role right now.
Just the story of you going out to see Hampton.
Yeah.
And just how that evolved and how, you know, how that came
It was
about.
crazy. This guy I knew, Ari Lynette, this is 6 years ago. He's a coach at Moore Park College, and I went to recruit Moore Park, and we became close, and he helped me recruit. He calls me like last year. E, is this still your number, right? I'm like, and I had him in my phone. So I hit him back, because it's like, no, I hadn't talked to this guy in 20 years now.
Yeah.
All right, is this you? Anyway, I got this guy. His dad and I played together, blah, blah, blah. So I saw the tape. I said, I kind of like this guy. I fly to Denver, Colorado Springs, drive to Adams State, which is 3.5, right?
Mm-hmm.
See the kid, like the kid, drive back, fly to Vegas, see the parents, come back. So we kind of liked what we saw, and we thought, you know, that he could help us. But that was a hard trip now. Yeah.
Last stuff for Coach, please.
Thanks.
All good?